Hey yo, welcome back to Raised on Fiction. My name is Mark. Again, to the end of the year, 2022 has been a pretty goddamn good year for physical media. So what we're going to do on this episode is I'm going to go over a few of the recent pickups I had, discuss whether or not they're worth your time. Most of them are. I'm going to be peppering in some presents throughout the episode, and we're going to finish it off with like my top five. Five of my favorite releases for the whole year. There's clearly more than that were worth your time, but I'm going to give you my favorites, okay? So, straight away, for my war film fans out there, we've got some classic films for you here. So we've got Saving Private Ryan, and we've got Apocalypse Now. This code's cool because it redeems every cut of the film, I'm pretty sure. So, go at it. I'm going to be just dropping those throughout the episode, okay? So they're going to be in random places. I won't always even talk about what they are. I'll just put it up, all right? So pay attention to what's coming. First up, we're going to go over the Vinegar Syndrome stuff. I'm going to fly over the reviews here, okay? So we're just going to do them fast and dirty. We've got Invisible Maniac, 4K. This one lived up to the reputation, making the jump from VHS right to 4K, which is hilarious. There is also a Blu-ray in here. The movie's great. I didn't get a chance to go through too many of the special features, but I did just watch the film. It was a blind buy. It was fun. Good little horror flick. The invisible aspects where it's sort of the weakest. There's no cool creative kills. They're kind of lame and just low budget. But there's a heck of a lot of charm here. And the best thing is just the transfer because, you're not going to watch this and say it's the most amazing looking film. But before this release, because it was only on VHS, looking at YouTube in anticipation for the release, there was just a few videos. Everything looked really rough, right? So instantly, when this movie starts, you see a scene that I'd seen on some kind of review on YouTube about the film, and just the quality jump is just astronomical. So that's what Vinegar Syndrome does. They're preserving these films. That's what other companies are doing too, but they're going after the weird fish. So transfer looked awesome. Movie was fun. Lots of nudity. More than you think. Yeah, it's really sleazy. So this is not a film for everyone. But if girls getting naked with a creepy invisible guy watching them the whole movie is your thing, you're going to have a blast in this one, all right? So Invisible Maniac. Next up, I ended up checking out Dead Heat, 4K as well. Pretty sure this one sold out. Definitely the Slip did. I feel like they had low numbers for the regular release as well. So, anyway, check out Vinegar Syndrome. If they have any more copies of this, I'd recommend it. This was a fun one. Definitely a blind watch for me again. Might have seen this back in the day, but I have no recollection of it. So, fun movie. Not the greatest, but it holds up. There's it's a little try-hard. You can tell. It's not hitting the mark like a top-of-the-line A-list buddy cop movie would, but it's good enough, and it's fun. And there's some good scenes with the zombies. I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much. I'd recommend watching it. I think anyone who's into horror movies or kind of horror comedy stuff, you're going to have a good time with this. There's some really fun scenes. The last one that I'm going to talk about from this batch was Voyage of the Rock Aliens. Heard a lot of negative things about it, but this is clearly a movie that's just not for everyone. Think Grease. So you got 50s Grease going on, but you've got an 80s veneer instead of the entirely 50s thing. But it's kind of both. And then you throw in really shitty low-budget alien stuff. But there's a flying V spaceship that literally, erects itself when it propels. There's just so much going on, and it was actually better than I expected. I was hoping for something that seemed like a music video, and that's exactly what I got. Right away from the start, there's my wife even called it out. She's like, this is Romeo and Juliet or West Side Story. There's two gangs with star-crossed lovers, and then there's a battle. It just has 80s music video vibes throughout. Straight up, this is better than Grease too. If you're into musicals, You got to check this one out. I'm not even into musicals, but this one's just right. It's 80s cheese. It's got a bit of everything going on. Lots of weird references and, homages and ripoffs. Very schlocky, very awesome. Again, the music in here, legit, better than anything in Grease, too. So take that for whatever it means. So that was the Vinegar Syndrome stuff. I'm going to give y'all Indiana Jones. So this is the whole collection. We've got Raiders here and Temple of Doom. And then we've got The Last Crusade. Top Gun. Why not, right? So next up, I got an Arrow release. And that one is Robin Hood. So not a movie that I really spent much time with. I was familiar with it. I grew up in the 90s and late 80s. So I know about this movie. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. My Robin Hood is that Disney animated one from the 70s. But this was not bad. I pretty much picked this up because of my man here. Can't believe his name is like escaping me right now, which is embarrassing. I should be able to hit it here first. Alan Rickman. Oh my God. I haven't been more ashamed. Alan Rickman. I bought this one for Alan Rickman. This has the extended cut, which I believe has more Alan Rickman in it. This is the Zavi Deluxe Arrow Ripoff Edition. I kind of like the art on this one better than the other version. And I do like to pick these ones up when I can. Steelbook looks pretty cool. You get everything. You got some art in there. You got a bunch of cards and stuff. I'm always a fan of any kind of release going here. Give me a nice outer box. Doesn't always have to be a steelbook, but I kind of like that too. I picked this up too to go along with this one. This is one of my earlier Arrow releases. I remember seeing in the store. I wasn't even super familiar with the brand of Arrow or Scream Factor at the time. I just saw this and I was like, oh, expensive Waterworld. I need to get that. It's ridiculous. I smell a re-release of this one because this is like 4K scans but on Blu-ray, and this has been out for a while. I believe there is already a 4K out. I don't know if it has that crazy Elise's cut, but I smell this getting re-released, and Arrow, they'll re-release it with this box and then probably an alternate, maybe like theatrical art. So, a little blast from the past here, Waterworld, to go with my Robin Hood. And little Scorsese comedy for you there. Last one I got here from like the regular-ish stuff that I want to talk about is Wayne's World. This was cheap. It was affordable. Slipcover. Newish release. It's been out for a few weeks now. Main thing I want to say about this, two things. One, huge visual upgrade, which to some, they can take it or leave that with comedies, which I don't get, especially with the classic stuff filmed on film. You still want it to look the best. There's plenty of scenes where they're in places. You just see more detail. The colors are more balanced, and that's what I'm getting at with this one. It's Wayne's World, so I'm watching it, and I think it looks pretty good, but I'm not blown away at all. At all, okay? I'm like right in the middle of the pipe here. I switched to the Blu-ray. Night and day difference. The Blu-ray's got all kinds of, I've got this 2-pack here, okay? So I popped what was in here, which I'm pretty sure is the only Blu-ray really available before, even with all the different packaging options. I think you're still getting that same disc and transfer. There's just all kinds of garbage contrast and boosting happening. It looked awful. So, this went from a 5 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 visually. Maybe even a 10. This is a great restoration. But the most important part, and the reason why, it is a 10. It's a 10 out of 10 restoration because, from what I understand, I think the sound mix is really good in here. There is an Atmos mix. I don't have Atmos, but I've heard that the sound mix is great, and there's great music in here, obviously. but they restored the Stairway to Heaven joke. It's back in its original form. There was like all these weird fake versions online that people had made over the years, but they took Stairway to Heaven out of this movie at some point on the Blu-ray and probably DVD, even the DVD release maybe, because of Led Zeppelin was suing everyone, and they got sued at some point too. So they just took it out so there'd be no drama, but it's back. So the joke is back in its full form, and honestly, that sounds like a little thing because it's literally just 3 notes that he's playing, right? But here you go. The version that they change that's on this old Blu-ray, what they play is awful. It's literally just they're not executed notes. It's some kind of palm mute with a harmonic, and they're all out of key and out of tune. They obviously picked something that no one could ever come after them for ripping off, and it was awful. So all that's back here. I mean, if you're not in a rush, like wait for a sale, wait for a 2-pack if they ever do the second one, which I'm sure they will. But rest assured, when you pick this up, this is great, okay? So boom. That's the regular stuff done. I'm going to hit you with this now. Weren't expecting that one, eh? And another classic. Notice the trend. These are basically all Paramount. They don't want to have codes that work in Canada, and if they do, they're through Apple. So it doesn't work. All right, so we're at the top 5. We're at the top 5. Straight away, my honorable mention is actually the best release of the year. Straight up, and it's the one we just saw in my previous video. And that is The Vinegar Syndrome VSU number 4 of Roadhouse 4K. Comes in a magnetic clamshell box. Right? Okay, so here's the front. Here's the back. I don't think I really have to explain to you why I'm putting this in the top position. I am putting it in the top position in the honorable mention section just to get it out of the mix. Because for me, this is the one. Opens up. Right? Art. Beautiful slipcover with like just clean representation of the key art. Little flap. Book at the bottom. You got the release. See, I haven't even opened it. I haven't even unsealed it. This is the best release of the year. Okay, I've seen clips of the transfer and I've heard it's nice. The Blu-ray I had before was actually pretty decent too. The old cheap Blu-ray was rough around the edges, but the Shout Select one had a much better codec. Not perfect. This looks better. I'm positive. I feel no shame that the Amorite case is sealed in here. This is the best release of the year. But I'm also just putting it out there. I'm going to give you my top 5, excluding Roadhouse. And right before we do that, weird, eh? Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. Drive, 88 films, also available through MVD on Blu-ray. They have a nice edition of it too, and they're participants in this, so I'm pretty sure they just took everything they did, and 88 Films probably did the 4K restoration, or maybe the HDR. Doesn't matter. I wasn't really familiar with this film. This was a blind buy. It had been on Zavvi forever, and it kept getting delayed, and I had it on order. I took it off. They had it at a good price, so I ended up picking it up. Here's my thing with this. It's not like my favorite movie of all time, but it's fun. It's crazy fun. I put this like in a Commando sort of situation. It's just a movie you put on if you want to have a blast. It just kind of goes. It's a little bit crazy and off the top. The action's fun and good. It's shot well. The 4K looks really good too. I didn't own the Blu-ray. Like I said, I've never seen this before. I don't believe there's a Blu-ray in here. I think it's just the 4K. All the special features are on there. Yeah, this one was fun. Like, again, Bloodsport, Commando. If that's your jam, I think this kind of slips right in. They have a regular version, and again, there's the MVD Blu-ray, and I think all the special features are the same. This one's nice though. Like the box isn't the best. It's not the thickest stock or anything, but it looks nice. And then inside you've got a Amory case. I think this is the original art. Don't know. Oh yeah, that's like a poster. So it's neat. You know, it's a boutique release, but nothing too crazy like I was just showing you. So that's Drive. That's my kind of out there pick for my top favorites. Next one, Undeniable. Undeniable. Especially coming from a regular studio. Sony, awesome. We've got a great... I'll take the J card off. The poster is basically legendary. It might be the best poster ever made. VHS in the video store. This got rented annually for sure in my household. We watch this movie all the time. This is the movie, or at least one of them, that got me into horror movies to begin with. Perfect tone. Scary, serious, fun, approachable for younger people. Amazing. So yeah, great release. Not only did they hit it out of the park, excuse me guys, with the packaging. We got Chris Sarandon on the back. Sarandon or Sarandon. I can't remember which one it is. Cool dude, cool actor. He's in a lot of great movies. Not only they hit it out of the park with the packaging, it's just loaded. Like, the special features on here are crazy. I had the older release of this too, and I was blown away when I got that as well. They had a lot of special features, and they're basically all ported over to here. But I think they do have a lot of new stuff here too. Stick that up. Probably can't read it too well. I don't think this camera sees great detail up close. Anyway, Undeniable, had to include it. Fright Night, one of my favorite movies, and the release was just like not a disappointment on any level. Following that up, this is another Sony one. Another Sony Steelbook along the same vein. This is another favorite of mine. Heavy Metal. This is a double release. It actually comes with just a Blu-ray. It has Heavy Metal 2000. I'm not a huge fan of that one. It's okay. I did watch it before getting this package here, but yeah, that one is just so different. It's not the same type of movie. Heavy Metal though might be my favorite anthology. Everyone always mentions Creepshow, and I'm a Tales from the Crypt fan. I love all that stuff. Twilight Zone, but anthology films, I definitely kind of grew up with this one. This was a staple. Late night TV all the time, and just look at this art. Steelbook's perfect. A lot of Canadian famous people in here. You got John Candy. I think even Rick Moranis might be in here. I might be off my rocker on that one, but I know John Candy's in here. Anyway, the art's great. Super 70s and weird and grungy. But that's the thing, I always had the notion that this movie looked bad. It looks rough, right? It's hand-drawn 70s animation. But it always was its own thing. When you look at it in 4K, though, it's clean. It's like you're looking at the cells, the actual hand-drawn cells. The detail is amazing, especially with some of the motion, where the glass Terrakian is flying around. With the motion there, it's trippy. Anyway, great release. Steelbook, same thing as Fright Night. Just looks great. Got 3 discs again, fully loaded, 4K Blu-ray, and then special features, and they've got art on them. So Sony is pretty much my favorite studio, just releasing their stuff. They're just doing a great job. All right, next up, we're going to go back to Vinegar Syndrome. Miami Connection. So, a little bit of a plug here. Anyone who's watching this channel, straight away, if you're watching me talk about movies, type up 4K Kings. If you don't already watch them, you need to make these guys a part of your life. If you're physical media people, their channel's way better than mine. It's way better than most blue tubers, people talking about this stuff, okay? Matt and Russ, first of all, they got good chemistry. They've been friends for a while, but they've got like the perfect taste, and they're right at like the... I don't know, wait. I don't want to say too much. Find out for yourselves. They're just awesome. Miami Connection is a movie that I'd heard about through Red Letter Media, but my man Russ on 4K Kings labeled this as one of his personal favorites. And guys, he's not wrong. Like, I grabbed this one. I mean, obviously it's for a certain type of person, but if you're into weird schlock that sort of transcends bad, good movie, you got it here. The soundtrack is sick. I actually have a vinyl of it that is still sealed. I'm going to do a video one day where I open that one up with my Bloodsport soundtrack. But yeah, the soundtrack is sick. The movie somehow makes sense and carries itself. And this came out this year. I've already watched this 3 times since I purchased it. And that's not what happens all the time. I still have movies like we just saw. Roadhouse was sealed. But this one got several viewings in. Again, fits into that kind of Commando. Although this goes a little schlockier than Drive or Commando. But you got to see it. Anyone who hasn't seen this, and this release is sick. First of all, not only is the transfer great, I've never seen it on Blu-ray before. I think I did check out the Blu-ray that was in here, and it looked pretty good. You know, if you had that before the 4K was available, I'd say you'd probably be good. But, I mean, who cares, right? We're 4K people. That's what's going to happen. So not only is the transfer sick, lots of special features, but the packaging's crazy. I think these are sort of my favorite Vinegar Syndrome ones too, where we've got a box here, Arrow style, which is, they kind of differentiate it by notching it. And then you've got like a slip-covered version with an emery case inside. So, art is sick. I'm not as big a fan of the actual slip cover that's in this one, although it's fun. But I feel like there's something about it. It doesn't represent the movie as well as I'd like. Here's the original art. And anyone who doesn't know about this one, I'm pretty sure the gist is it's a movie that was released back in the day that was mocked and basically just disappeared forever. And then the elements were rediscovered at some point. And someone obviously thought it'd be a great idea to sell it to everyone, to sell it to the world, and they were right. Two classics right there. Different tones. All right. It goes without saying, it was basically impossible for me not to do this. My release of the year, Highlander. I titled my last video where I talked about it saying that this was the best transfer, and I think I stand by that. Let me refine my thoughts there. I've seen this movie so much on pretty much every format except Laserdisc, and I didn't see it in theaters, okay? This is the best the movie's ever looked, and if it looked better, it would look worse. Because watching this, basically, the transfer and everything is everything is so good that some of the like stuntmen are starting to be exposed with the resolution in here. You know, this is literally the pinnacle for Highlander. I mean, there could be some fine tuning. I don't think there's Dolby Vision in here, so I'm sure there's room for them to razzle dazzle me even a little bit more. But my God, I know the rough shots in this movie by heart. I've been watching this movie my whole life. There's 4 or 5 really nasty shots peppered throughout the movie, just because they either shot it wrong with the wrong exposure on the wrong on the wrong plane, or just too much grain because they're shooting in the dark, or the same thing. Anyway, there's like 4 or 5 shots in here that are brutal. But in this release, there's only really one that looks really bad, and that's just, again, it's just because what you got here is the source. You've got the movie stripped down, I mean, obviously they've done some magic too, right? But everything is exposed, and I stand by it. If this looked better, it would look worse. So I'm super happy with what they gave me here. I've heard people complain about the audio. As someone who doesn't have audio system set up, I just got like my crappy TV. I do have a sound bar, but I don't even use that often. This was my favorite audio. I found it very like consistent throughout the whole movie. I didn't have to like flick the volume up and down at all. So I bet if you have a nice system, maybe it sounds flat. But to me, as someone who struggles with always having the volume rocket up and down, this was bang on. And I think they've got the 2.0 track in here. That's what I was using. I think the previous release only had 5.1 tracks. I can't remember. It's been a while. But anyway, I love the sound and I really love the packaging. So again, here's like the front. It's got some great art. The only con is the ratings, but it is what it is. Overall, I think out of all the releases that have been released for this so far in the UK and the upcoming Lionsgate ones, I think this one looks the best. It's got like the best font and I think the best imaging. The Lionsgate Steelbook, though, also very sick. Straight up, not gonna lie. And anyone picking that up, you're gonna be happy because it's the same stuff. It's just a different package. Okay? So here's the front, here's the side, which also looks sick. Again, bummer. This side's got the clean, just logo. So if you're a little bit particular with the ratings, you could kind of buy this and just have that flip to that side. Here's the back. Really happy they printed this instead of it just being a J card. Take the box out. You got this nice, like, thick digipack thing going on. You've got great art. You've got Connor. You've got the Kurgan. Open that up. You've got Connor saving his lady from the Kurgan right before he decimates him. And obviously this sort of opens up. So yeah, that looks good. Like I pointed out when I reviewed this, I have a Basic Instinct, similar packaging from Studio Canal, so I was sort of hip to what I was expecting when I ordered this, and I'm glad I'm glad they didn't cheap out. The only thing that really bums me out, again, I talked about this, are these. These suck. This is brutal. I, it would have been better just not to include these. Anyway, we've got posters. You got the works in here, okay? So for me, this is the best version of Highlander that's been released for all time up till now. High recommend for me. I don't know if this is sold out yet. And again, they do reprint their editions like this from time to time. So I think that's going to be it for this year. There might be another video if I get some last minute pickups, but there's not too much that's cool coming in. We'll see what happens there. Y'all are sexy to me. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I've got way more codes, so another video. Again, I'll pepper that stuff in. Hope y'all enjoyed. If you didn't get any of the codes because you came too late, sorry. I mean, that's the way it works. Hit the bell. Subscribe. Y'all do it. We're all on the same team here. All I'm doing is I'm trying to show you cool stuff. We're all collectors. Help me help you. Subscribe. Share the video. I'm going to be trying harder. I know I'm going pretty low effort with this stuff, but we're going to rev it up. And help me help you. And I love you. Have a great new year.